the nodes, the interesting thing I noticed about the nodes are that they're part of that cardinal grand cross. It's a different one though, right? Their contacts are with the IC and the MC. So
Mm,
your
mm,
nodes are just 2 degrees away from being perfectly crossing both your midheaven and the IC. So that again
right,
personalizes them more. It's going to mean that the nodes are going
right.
to be a big part of your story in this life.
Vaughn, do you know much about the nodes? You've studied some of them, some about them, haven't you?
A little bit, but enlighten me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the square, when you have the south node, north node, right? We have they're
Right.
in opposite sides. So your south node's in Cancer in your first house, your north node's in Capricorn in your seventh house of partnership. So just alone, that alone, if we're looking at the nodes meaning having to do with north node is, and they are, Aaron can probably explain better like what they are astrologically because they're not planets, but like the actual technical definition of a node. Do you have that off the top of your head, Aaron?
Oh yeah, it's just where the moon. So as the moon, it's where the moon crosses the ecliptic, going either north or south declination wise. So as the moon is rising, the north node is where it hits the ecliptic as it's going north, as it's rising in the sky. And then when it hits the
Mhm.
ecliptic it's going down and lowering itself in the sky. That's the south node. And so the nodes, what they are is like where the ecliptic is the path the sun takes. Right. So the nodes are where eclipses can happen. That's the big thing with the nodes is that in order for an eclipse to happen, it has to line up with the nodes. So the big thing astronomically with the nodes are tracking eclipses. It's how eclipses are tracked. That's the
Mhm.
astronomy of it. To get into, I could get more technical with it, but I don't know that it would really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably
Yeah.
enough,
No.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. That no, that's a good explanation. And so it kind of just sets up this idea too that when you were born, there was an eclipse close to the time that you were born. And because for your sun, which is one of the luminaries, to line up and be on that south node or near that south node, you were born during a time of transition. Like if we think about it in this time where we're like, oh, it's we're in eclipse season, right? And we know that during that time there's a lot of uncertainty because the eclipses are connected to the shadow energy and shadow placements, and they're incredibly mysterious, but they're also the key to our destiny or our karma. So you were kind of born during this window, this
Tail end of
eclipse
it.
kind of period,
That
tail end of it.
next,
Hmm.
yeah, that next full moon, the full moon that would have happened like right after her birth, probably would have been a partial eclipse because it would have been within 9 degrees of the nodes.
Ah, yeah, yeah. So wherever your nodes are when you're born, that the south node is associated with natural gifts and karma and what we come in with and our almost the ghosts of our ancestors, what our family lineage, both gifts and curses, or blessings and challenges that we bring in. And it's where we tend to be naturals at whatever that is. And so that sense of strong intuitive sense of who you are, even if you couldn't always express it or show it, or but that sense of who you were was there. But it's also the south node is where we tend to be, we tend to stay because it's comfortable at times, but it can be incredibly spiritual as well because it can be about release. And I know we've talked about your nodes a lot, like over the years and stuff. And we've talked a little bit about the difference between like the way that the Vedic astrologers see the north and south node versus the way Western astrologers kind of glorify the north node, like forget about your south node, leave it behind. It's all about where you're going and your dharma, like the north node. It's all about seventh house Capricorn North Node, build relationships with others, and your marriage is really, I mean, marriage is important, but you've kind of got that dharma path. But because these nodes are squaring, he's kind of pointing to the 90-degree aspect that both of them are in this tension, challenging square to that Mars, that midheaven, and that Chiron. Um, that is another layer of potential, even because where the nodes are, we can tend to have illusions or we can have confusion. we can see with the North Node, especially like mirages, like we think we know what it is, but we can be prone to illusions or grandiosity or thinking that things are much greater or bigger. And so in relationships, there could be confusion at times, not necessarily with a particular relationship, but also with the South Node, that can be places, so where the eclipses come in, there's mystery, and then you have it into that 90-degree angle. So I think this is really important to even become aware of and understand more before Saturn and Neptune start to transit that 10th house, because your nodes are going to be part of that story over the next 2.5 years with Saturn, and then even longer, right? With Neptune, what is it? Neptune's on a 165-year cycle. So what 1/12 of that would be? How many years? I can't remember how many
14
years.
It's like
years,
Neptune.
11.
something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah,
Or
we're getting into that
15.
period where
15, I think, somewhere around
11
there.
to 15. And I think it
Yeah,
can probably vary
it
by sign.
changes.
To know though, it's good to know some of the technical reasons behind this stuff, because,
I got a good bit of
and I
that.
think that yeah. And it goes to we were just talking about AI. I can't remember. I was talking to somebody about AI this morning. And it's like, because we can learn so much on AI, sometimes not knowing the why, or the how if something is incorrect, because every now and then AI will spit out some really wrong information, and it can kind of set you off on like a very wrong path. So at the very least, I think it's great to like you be able to use it to understand the chart more deeply, but to have almost like a consulting astrologer that can kind of help calibrate you, if it, to kind of make sure that AI is not taking you off in these really wonky directions that are not really that accurate. But anyway,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
AI
I'm
is not
digressing.
intuitive. So
Right.
you have to have the intuition in astrology. Like it's not, you can't divorce it from human intuition. It has to work with intuition. AI doesn't have that. AI just has, I like to say it's Mercury on meth. It's just like Mercury's hitting the meth pipe, and it's like it loves that shit because it's like just factual. It's like just information, but like information can be wrong, and AI is just pulling all the information and collating it from like everything that's said about astrology online, and it's like, well, sidereal versus tropical, which house system? Like, there's all. What are your orbs? Like, what? There's so many just
Yeah.
subjective disagreements in astrology that it's like you can't. AI's not. It's good for facts but in astrology, facts are arguable. You need intuition to iron it out.
I agree 100%. Anytime I try to play around with my chat GBT and my chart, I'm just like, abort, get out of there. Leave it alone.
I love
Right.
AI
Give me it
for
all.
I love AI for doing research on classical Greek myth because it has access to all of the literature on Greek myth, like from like Yale or Princeton, like that one of the Ivy League colleges. I think it's Yale. They have like an online all of Greek myth, all of the literature. It's just public domain, and AI can just go in and find exactly what you want, and that's amazing. Because
That
it's
is
like
amazing.
it's just writing, right? Ancient writing. So it's like the Bible, right? It's like the Bible says what it says. It's the same thing with the sources on Greek myth. But anyway, I digress.
Right. Yeah. So I guess my question that's coming up is, you mentioned that you have a big project that you're starting, Vaughn, right? Like that is sort of going to require this Saturn, as Saturn's about to move into Aries. And we were talking a little bit about the value of Saturn as a structuring principle. And if you look at like all of your different planetary, you've got all the different planets, right? And if you were breaking down your chart and looking at your chart, you have all this powerful energy. And then you have Saturn natally in the 12th house, and it's in Gemini, and it's not a debilitated Saturn. It's peregrine, or it's not like you have like it's actually this Saturn in the 12th house natally in terms of the condition of your Saturn. Like if you were looking at, okay, what is, this transiting Saturn going into my 10th house? I know that I'm going to be working within the confines and the structures of Saturn over the next 2.5 years to further and to really manifest and solidify, because Saturn's really good at that. It's like taking all this 10th house Chiron, healing, and now solidifying it into work to go to do the next, layer of work. And if you're looking at because Saturn, your natal Saturn is always in a cycle, right? Like you have a Saturn return. We hear a lot about that one. We have the Saturn squares. And so it's always within a larger cycle. So as Saturn is making its way up to the top of your chart and it's kind of heading toward that second Saturn return, which is still several years off, right? You still have about like 8 years before that second Saturn return, but it still wants to fulfill, it's working toward fulfilling the goals and the hopes for Saturn and what Saturn needs to do and accomplish by that second Saturn return. So
Well, it's the square too.
you're
Like
this
she's just now finishing up actually on the closing square.
good point. Right. Good point. Yeah.
Like exact
Yeah.
right now almost. Like it's just passed.
Wait, what's finishing a square?
So we're talking about Saturn cycles, and so basically you
Yes.
have the opening square, the opposition, the closing square, and the return. It's every 7 years because Saturn's orbit is like 29 years, 30, 29, 30 years. So it's every 7 years you hit one of those parts of one of those crosses. You're on the closing. You're just now finishing up because Saturn right now is late Pisces. So it's squaring your natal Saturn, but it's a closing square because it's headed towards the return, your second Saturn return. So it's like,
So that's
go ahead, Susan. Yeah, talk
I'm
about
just
what
really
that
glad
means.
yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because yes, you're finishing a period over especially like the last year and a half that
Yeah.
was this intense. It's the biggest growth period that you're going to get until, regarding your work and regarding Saturn energy for you, until your Saturn return, your second Saturn return. So it's like whatever you've been doing this last year and a half has been the dynamic like impetus to, before, you obviously still have another 7.5 years, but
Yeah.
it's like, has it been really, really intensive for what it is that you hope to build by your second Saturn return, right?
Yeah.
So what would have been indicated at your first Saturn return, right? That's the
Right. Let's
cycle.
think
It
about that.
starts at that's 30 years old, right? Your
Yeah.
your second Saturn return is like it's the second Saturn cycle. The first Saturn cycle starting with when you were born. Because Saturn has to transgress, or it has to go through every sign of the zodiac, which is why in astrology the first Saturn return is really, that's our entry into adulthood. Like I say, you're not really an adult until your first Saturn return. Well, Saturn hasn't been through the whole zodiac yet. So at your 30 years, at your first Saturn return, 29, 30 years old, you like, you have an opportunity at that point to be a fully functional adult. Whereas before that, you can't have been, right?
Yeah.
So then
Right. So
hopefully you kind of have your shit together at that point, and then this is what your life's going to be like. Your 10th house professional. What are you here to achieve in this life? Like, what are you here, the work you're here to do, right? Capricorn, the MC, the 10th house. What does that look
yeah,
like?
but
And hopefully by the end of this, in your next 7 years, you'll have achieved that. And one last thing,
and
and I'll
what's it
shut up.
what okay.
This is on the heels, this square, the Saturn square is on the heels of her Chiron return, right? And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
and
So just after the Chiron return, then straight into the Saturn square, back to back.
yeah, so I would expect a lot of stress and discomfort, right? That should be easing up, and the rewards should be happening now.
Yeah. 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 And I was gonna say too, if we
especially with
just kind of
Jupiter,
look at the yeah. Right, yeah.
and
If
its
we
its
just look at the
phases.
nature yeah. Oh, well, okay, so if depending on time, because I know we're at, like, an hour, we I would love to talk about the Jupiter too, the Jupiter cycle, because I think that's really important. I wanted to ask about I wanted to just mention, I was kinda meandering to get around to it, but Saturn in the 12th house, natally, it is in the house of its joy, Saturn being uh, introspective, sort of the mystic, the meditator, the monk. And so you have that natal signature. But Saturn rules your seventh house of partnership and marriage and relationships, and it rules your eighth house of other people's resources and shared resources. And so the ruler of your seventh and eighth houses is important and critical and a part of understanding what that life work is that you're trying to complete and what you're working on with Saturn. And so as Saturn, again, you have time before the second Saturn return, but having a 12th house Saturn, it is a strength. It's not the strongest planet in your chart, right? Because you have a lot of this other dynamic energy, but this kind of quiet behind the scenes Saturn that is really working on seventh house matters and eighth house matters of the longevity, the transformation, the healing work, the eighth house kind of stuff, and then the seventh house of really partnership. And I would say marriage is part of that too, and it's in there. And I think part of the lucky Jupiter energy of that at that eighth house of the partner is like being blessed and being supported by a partner. That certainly shows up in the chart. But then it's like, what work are you doing around that as well as kind of like my open-ended question there, because it seems to be connected. It seems to be part of it as well. So yeah, that's what I was going to say about that.
So
Anything
with
you are thinking?
so with I mean, in regards to my husband, I mean, at this particular phase in our life, I can honestly say we are more in love, more giddy, more experiencing joy together than we ever
Mm.
have. We've been married, it'll be 22 years this year. And so I
Oh,
think that's really amazing that, I feel like I've probably, if it's, I don't know if you said it's already in, is it already in there or it's coming in there?
What are you talking about? Your Saturn
uh,
square?
well, no, I think I understand what she's asking. So yeah, that your partner, that you have a signature of a very supportive, like
Yeah.
lucky, positive partnership, and that
Oh yeah,
Saturn, because of your life, like that you have had a supportive partner that is somehow facilitating your life work. It's like
Yeah.
that ability to fulfill your Saturn is connected to your partnership, and that you already kind of have this positive Jupiterian partner in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely 100%. I mean, like he is incredible. I, you know, I can't love and respect that man any more than I mean, cause he has really you see my chart, you see what the past has been like for me to get to this point, and my man has just loved me and supported me through it all, emotionally, financially, physically, like, so it really
Oh.
has been such a blessing.
that makes
Mm.
sense.
He's he
Because the Jupiter, your Neptune's in Sagittarius, so
mm,
uh, your Neptune, what's called dispositor, is Jupiter. So I would imagine your
uh-huh.
husband's been very supportive of you spiritually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
I
mhm,
thank him every day for that. I'm like, I can't, thank you, because it's been crazy town over here.
mhm.
Doing the
Yeah.
deep work that I've done, like, as I've really, I mean, when I say I'm doing the deep work, I'm doing the deep work. I mean, I'm constantly going in and exploring and excavating and learning, and I mean, and it's a lot, and he definitely has supported me along that.
Mhm. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about Jupiter, do we have just a few more minutes, because we could talk about Jupiter a little bit? Are
Yeah,
you good
I'm
for
good.
Vaughn for a few more minutes? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So the natal, Aaron just mentioned Neptune in Sagittarius. Jupiter rules your natal 6th house and your natal 9th house. So, and your natal Jupiter is in, again, Aquarius in your 8th house. So Jupiter in Aquarius has, as we were talking about, growth and depth and your expansion through, but that you're tied in with the collective in a really important way. To have that Jupiter Aquarius Jupiter, I should say, your work within the collective, I would think, is really important, especially as Pluto moves across that and gets closer to the 9th degree, because right now it's at 3 degrees. So it's still a few years off in terms of, I think, where you're going to be helping and guiding the collective in a way that may not be quite visible yet. But because Jupiter is now in that first house for you, the Jupiter cycle, you're not quite halfway through the 12-year Jupiter cycle. So next year, in about exactly a year, a little less, you're going to come to the Jupiter opposition to that natal Jupiter in the 8th. So in other words, you'll be halfway through your Jupiter cycle. So if you look back about 5 years ago, you were having the Jupiter return, something very dramatic or big could have happened that could have been beneficial or positive around the 8th house Jupiter, right? And so you might have had a big change. There could have been some kind of really significant change about 5 years ago. And now next year, I believe, will see something in the conversation between the second house of personal value and resources and earnings. And I would say it's going to be a really good year financially. And I think I've mentioned this to you before, but that, your capacity for depth and healing, you're going to see that almost like on the balance ledger where, like you've been supported and you're going to be, not necessarily like, you do have a signature for like very strong personal wealth, right? That to have Venus and Mercury there, Venus in the second house, but that it's going to feel very abundant in terms of your resources, right? And whether or not it's like through the workshops you're doing, through you mentioned writing a book. If it's okay to, I hope it's okay
Yeah.
to mention that. If it's
Yeah,
not, I'll edit
totally.
it. I didn't know
No,
if you
it
were good with
is.
that, but okay, so you're working on a book, but you're doing a lot that I think is going to bring in a lot for you. So, anyway, but yeah, I wanted
I
to.
really appreciate you saying that because you've always told me for years that I had like, money was in my chart and I had like that queen, like high, stuff, that money was a big part of me. And I'm like, where that money at? But I also feel like so much of my healing has been allowing myself to become that woman that is money, that receives money, that embodies money, because so much of my wounding has been worthiness, like, don't look at me. I don't want your money. Like so much of me was just hiding. Um,
Mm,
and so it's like the more I come out of hiding and I know who I am and I know my worth and I'm healing all of that, I do feel like now more than ever, I am in a place to embody that version of myself that you've always said is who I am. And it's like now it's like, okay, now I can see that I am worthy, and that I do serve and that I do contribute to the collective and that I do deserve to be compensated energetically for that exchange. Whereas before it was always like such a no, 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 So
uh,
that's really good and exciting that I
yes.
get to step into that financial abundance.
Mm-hmm, hmm. Yeah, and not to sound too. We have an episode coming on prediction, which I think will be interesting and good. But Aaron, I don't know. Did you have any thoughts about the Jupiter cycle or anything that you wanted to mention there?
So I would just point that out. But even in
Mm,
Placidus, it's 7th house, so it's still other people.
hmm.
It's
Yeah,
in that
yeah. That
region,
there's a lot of support.
Yeah, because
Yeah, that
so
support comes. through those relationships, through that
Mhm.
intimate partnership and partnering with others. And that's whether it's marriage or projects or, so even with like your book that you're working on with your workshop, don't you have a retreat coming up? Like,
Mhm.
what would you say your big things on the docket are? Because with Jupiter now in that first house, it's starting it's almost halfway through a Jupiter cycle, but it's actually hit that first house. So it's like big time confidence, big time, like I'm going for it, go big or go home. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned that the other day. What would you say your big projects are? And are they partnership related so you can get some of that really good Jupiter support and input?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the book, which on my podcast this week, I am announcing that I'm writing a book, which is huge because that means I'm actually gonna do it. Like if I'm
Mhm.
saying it, then it's like, okay, this is actually gonna happen. But to the point of what you're saying, within the book, it's gonna be so much a part of my own healing journey and story. And then the second half of the book is gonna be people sharing their stories of transformation. And so it's huge for me because I'm having to ask people to share their story. I want them to go back into their experiences, whether it's been a one-on-one or a retreat, or, if they've worked with me over the past 5 years or so, or 1 year or whatever. I want them to understand, and this isn't about, a Vaughn party, like talk about how Vaughn healed me. It's like, let's take it to you. How has your breath, how have you working with your breath and your body and really doing this deep inner work of going so deep within? How has it changed your life? Share that story.
Ah,
So, and I'm just so honored that I get to be on that story and journey with them and to bring that experience into the book so that other people can understand what is available to them. Cause I mean, I didn't know any of this was available to me or to
mm,
anybody else. And it's like, the more I experience it, I'm like, oh my God, this is available. And so that's the main point of the book, is just expressing what is available to people to heal on a deeper level, like when they show up for themselves, when they do the work.
mm,
So with that alone right there, I'm bringing in so many other people into the book
yeah,
alone. So that's really exciting. And then of course
yeah,
I have, my retreats. I have a monthly sister circle class, where women gather. So I do have a lot. I have so much excitement and energy around everything that I want to do, So, and it's almost like, okay, Vaughn, just take a deep breath. Um, Not even one thing at a time, but you like, I can do it all. It's not even like
mm,
one thing at a time. It's like, I can do it all and it will be okay, because I feel like, to what you just said, everything's been preparing me for this moment in time so that I can be this version of myself now.
mm. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. And I also have to mention, uh, and that I'm not sure if you've worked with Vesta, but you do have Vesta right on your ascendant. And
I am not
Jupiter
familiar
will,
with Vesta.
yes, yes. So I've mentioned that Erin has helped me a lot with insight with the asteroid goddesses, because you have an asteroid goddess literally on your ascendant, and it's one of the most sacred and profound of like archetypal feminine goddess energies. And she'll be getting that Jupiter will be moving across your ascendant, and also, great abundance and gifts and on the Vesta archetype. So I'll leave it. I want to open it up. So if Erin has any thoughts about Vesta, but definitely I can send you more information on her, and you might want to explore her some, because she's waking up in a big way and she's already been awake because she's on your ascendant. I mean, she's part of you. It's been part of you your whole life, but yeah.
Yeah, that's Greek Hestia is who Vesta is. The original was Hestia.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
the
And
Vesta is the Romanized, but they literally just took the Greek Hestia and changed her name
right.
to Vesta. I mean,
And she's kind of interesting because between the Greek and the Roman, there's like slight nuance of difference in what she symbolizes, but she's the goddess of hearth and home, but also the sacred flame the sacred contract of the soul. She's she's tied in and connected according to Demetra George's asteroid goddesses. It's like the Kundalini energy. She's connected to that, like the vital life force energy and the creative energy that, as we know, can be used in multiple different ways, but is ultimately kind of that Shakti, divine feminine power. But then it's also, she's associated with virginity and like purification of the self and the body, and, you know, not necessarily literal virginity, but that idea of the sacred work that she has the task of. You know, the Vestal virgins had to keep right in Rome, they had to keep the fire and the flame from dying, from going out. And so they were in service to, you know, the kind of the society that they lived in at the time in order to do that. But on a symbolic level, it's connected to the depth of your personal inner mission on a spiritual level, and it's very sacred, you know.
Well, the virginal sense in the way the ancients meant it were more, you can see more in like the myth of Artemis or even Athena, and the virginal sense being not chaste sexually. It's actually, in a lot of ways, it's actually the opposite of that. It's, you know, it's you're paying no mind to that sort of social obligation. It's more about what are you're it's the inner flame, right? That lights you up, like the thing that it's like sacrosanct for your soul work on this, in this incarnation. Like nothing can transgress it. Virginal in the sense of you're not being told what to do by anybody, because you're not accepting any demands, right? The only demand you follow in this case is your inner demand, and that's what Hestia is. So Hestia is the hearth. So it's the fire inside the home. Like the Roman word or Latin word is focus for this. So the hearth being the focus, being the center of your home. In this case, you know, your soul's home, right? So I didn't know. I can't even believe I didn't even think to ask for the asteroid goddesses, because I'm always asking Susan to put them on the chart, because I pay a lot of attention to the asteroid goddesses.
Oh no!
And I didn't
Oh,
even.
I set you up dirty like that. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. I thought that I had him on there. Oh my god. Yeah,
it's all
you
good.
would have nailed that. Like that would have been the first thing you saw if they had been on there. Hey,
Where's Palace?
I have a software for you. I just have to like see you to give you the software, Aaron. So
Yeah.
you can put your own best of. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. What were you
Well,
gonna ask?
where's Palace at for her?
Oh, it's with her moon exactly conjunct her moon in Libra at 28 degrees.
So
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so Pallas is Athena. It's Pallas Parthenos Athena is the full name for her, and she happens to be the goddess that I say I belong to her. She's the goddess that Hestia and Pallas are the two goddesses that I really, well, Ceres too. All of them pretty much. I pay a lot of attention to. But what I wanted to say is something that's come to mind several times now. In this discussion about your chart, and that's the your moon and sun and the relationship between them. As far as I heard you talking about how, I think you said early life you had issues with being put down for being too emotional. I think you said, where you were, and it feels like the younger you, right, before society had did its work on you, right? Kids express that solar energy a lot easier. That's why like in the tarot, the Rider-Waite tarot, right, the sun card is a child. It's the divine child, right? And that's because they haven't been corrupted yet, right? So they're expressing their like the spirit in them, right? And I feel like part of your problem may have been you were trying to express your sun, which would be the emotional nature, right? You're talking about, because it's in Cancer. And so, but that kind of got switched over to the moon, because, and, you know, being the moon in Libra, right? So what other people think impacting so heavily on how you can express yourself. And I think a lot of what feel has happened for you with the Chiron return is signifying a switch back to the solar nature. And so that you're expressing your solar nature much better now. You're coming into your solar self a lot more now easily than your moon side. And I think that, it's interesting. I started thinking, trying to do the math on where's her progressed sun now? Cause it's going to be like, is it Virgo? Is she progressed into Virgo right now? Isn't that right?
I can check for you
Because
real quick.
60 degrees is going to be, yeah, she's in Virgo, because 60 degrees would
Yep,
be,
she's at 6 degrees Virgo. Her progressed sun is at 6 degrees Virgo. And the south node is going
okay,
to go across that progressed sun. Yep. Mm-hmm.
right. So that's
Yep.
going to be by house then. She's going to be switching, at least by Placidus. She's going to be switching from second to third house with the solar progression
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
Virgo.
Yep.
But anyway, I just wanted to point out that I feel like there's a shift for you, and also I would want to, because I'm archetypal and psychological and mythic in the type of astrology that I do. So the psychological side of my practice wants to ask about your dad and your mother and try to calibrate for your chart, because 4th, 10th house axis and sun moon are showing those things typically, but it's not always the same. So I'd be interested in seeing which is which. That's where I would want to go next. But do any of that resonate with you at all? Like what I was saying about switching from moon to sun and back again?
100%. Yeah. When your words were like a soothing balm to my soul. Yeah. That was
Cool.
very, very spot on. See, that's the intuition part of astrology,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that feels very, very spot on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it should be feeling really good for you too, because Jupiter's lighting like your sun right now. It's like Jupiter sun right now. So that should feel really good, to you.
I do feel good. I'm riding this feel good wave as long as I can because it feels really good.
It comes through too. You have a very Jupiterian sort of, like you've been smiling the whole time. You just seem joyous. So that seems like, yeah, good energy to be around.
She's
Yeah,
always been that way. We can't give all the credit to Jupiter, but yes. Hopefully you're feeling that on a higher octave. You bring that joy wherever you go. But yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I know we're going at like almost an hour and a half, and thank you, Vaughn. I know you've been just wonderful, and it's been so good having you. Is there anything else that you want to ask about or mention or?
I mean, I just want to thank you guys. I feel so seen and validated over my journey, like the way that you both were able to explain the complicated chart of that is me, because it has been really hard. It has been. And I'm really proud of myself for the way that I have worked with these beautiful astrological energies that are only here to support me. Um so I just think it's so beautiful and so important. Like anybody that I ever work with, I'm like, go understand your chart. Like I just think it's such a huge importance of understanding your chart. I mean, it's incredible. It's been such a gift. I mean, like, so just this conversation alone, just having you both validate me of saying, yeah, it's been really hard. Wow. Like, look where this was. Like, it's been hard, Vaughn, and so it just, because it has been so hard. And when you're in it, it feels like, am I going crazy? Like, what is all this for? And so just to have you confirm and affirm into me that everything has been in divine orchestration and timing and purpose, and it's all been guided by the stars and the planets and everything. It just feels really, it just provides so much peace for me. So Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Truly, thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That I really appreciate that feedback. It's beautiful and it's wonderful to know that it has had a positive impact for you. And you share so much light and love and healing with everybody you come in contact with that I think it is important that you have those places wherever they might be where you can be uplifted and seen for completely who you are. Because I think sometimes it's easy to, to be the light when you're being the light, and yet even the light bringers need to have that support. So I'm
When
glad
you're
we could
bringing the
be
light and going through the depths of your darkness all at the same time. Yeah, it's
right.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
to that, like, that is the journey of life. Like, we all have that. I mean, we have to be able to go into the depths of our darkness with the light of our soul to reveal what is what and who we are. So it's just such a gift. But it takes brevity. Yeah, I mean, it is a bold decision to go into the depths of where where I invite people to go to. And so that I just applaud anybody that shows up on that level. I'm just like, yeah, girl, we're it's not easy, but it's so worth it, because on the other side of that is freedom. And that's what our soul wants, is freedom.
Yes, yes, yeah. And there are great riches for those who are willing to go through Hades, right? through the initiation of
Absolutely.
Pluto. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
Yeah,
funny.
perfectly said.
Later tonight,
Oh,
I'm going to see. Me and Wendy are going to see Hades Town. Just on
oh,
that
a
note,
play?
yeah, about Hades and
Uh-huh.
Persephone.
Yeah.
It's a musical.
Oh,
Ah.
that would be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's her Valentine's
Oh,
gift to
that's
me because I'm
oh,
a
that's awesome. Where
classical
do you
Oh.
Greek
live, Aaron?
nerd.
Do
classical.
you live in Greenville, South? Are you in South Carolina as well, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm in Spartanburg, South Carolina, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
same area.
Yeah.
We're
Okay.
just far enough apart to where we hardly ever actually see each other physically, me and Susan, because it's like
Hmm.
an
Yeah.
hour to drive, so it's like close
Yeah.
enough to do it,
Awkward
but we
enough.
hardly
Yeah.
ever do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Well,
I
and
hope that's
then
fun.
we
And
have this beautiful technology to make it available, right?
Yeah, and me being a
oh yeah.
Gemini, like I'm Gemini rising, and I have Mercury in Aquarius, and so I'm all about this type of communication. It's great for me.
Yeah, the digital
Yeah,
realm. I'm like, I need to see my people in peopleness because I'm a Taurus. I'm like,
Taurus.
I,
Yeah,
but
and I'm
it's
like,
okay. It's good.
I can do it digitally. No difference for me.
That's
But Vaughn, I wanted to ask you, what is the name of your podcast again? Just because I want to listen to it, and I know you do a monthly report that, like, for the energy report, right? That sounded
yeah.
interesting. You mentioned that the other day. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a good bit
Yeah.
of
Yeah. It's
listeners
called
in the Atlanta area too. So, like, where can people find you?
Oh yeah. Well, the name of my podcast is Cosmic Healing, and it's 3 years old, and I just received the download to do it, and I was like, I don't want to do it, but I think maybe Saturn was in there somewhere about 3 years ago and was like, do it. And so I did it, but it's been the best play. Like, that's where I really share my life and my healing. I thought it would be other people's healing stories, but it ended up just being my journey. And I'm just like, this is what's happening this month and how I am healing and losing my mind all at the same time. It's great. But it's also real and truth. And we do have a monthly energy report that's super fun. Um,
Mm.
and for Atlanta people or even South Carolina people, like, I'm only in where I live in Atlanta, I'm in the burbs of Atlanta. Even for like Greenville, I'm only an hour and a half away. I have a couple women that travel from Greenville to come to my classes I have one class, one Sunday morning a month, and people drive like 2 hours sometimes to be here. So it's super fun, very, very holy, very healing, and
It's
it's
so
beautiful.
powerful. I've been to
Yeah.
that. You invited me. It's very powerful. And even with my background and experience in Kundalini yoga, it's challenging in the
Yeah.
best way. but it's beautiful, and yeah, I can't say enough about it, but yeah, it's
Thank you.
beautiful. I would
Yeah,
drive. Uh-huh.
we go to there. It's awesome. And then I host retreats and stuff, but I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm pretty active in my stories. I love to just share daily stuff, you know. So yeah, I would love to be able to connect with anybody. And Aaron, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much
Likewise.
for this invitation. And Susan, of course, I always love being with you and my Kundalini yoga girl, my astrologer. I mean, you're so much to me, and I just am so grateful for our relationship.
Yes, likewise. Same here. So thank you for coming and having the conversation with us today.
It was very enlightening and supportive. So thank you, thank you, thank you.